But we live. Too much reverb. Turn it down. Sorry.
There we go. Much good. much good.
Nah, what's up with you, man? You
What's
having a
going
good
on?
day today?
Yeah. Happy Easter to all and everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed y'all Sunday. Yourself, man, you had a good weekend?
Yeah, man. Joyful, somber at the end with a little hint of somber, a little splash of somber in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my youngest child, anytime she comes over and spends, the weekend with me or something like that, because of my work schedule, weekends are best. But because of that, it's always great while she's here, man. You know, she's 6, about to be 7. We be having a blast. She be wanting to do more activities. She want me to spend $1,000 on her every weekend whenever she come over. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy can do that all day. At some point in God's future for us. All right. I'm gonna pray about it today. And then one day we're gonna be able to spend that every time you come over. But we have a good time, man. But when she leaves, woo, our baby girl be an emotional wreck. But that doesn't, as an adult, I can't, I just gotta be there for her. But other than that, you know what I mean? It doesn't overshadow the joy. Some kids is crying. I done dropped somebody, I was in a previous marriage, bro. I was like, you can't keep your child away from her daddy. Her daddy need to be in his life. I wish somebody would do that to me. Man, I went with her to take her daughter over her daughter's biological dad's house. I ain't never seen the child cry and tantrum. And, bro, they brought her back to the car. And I had to tell her to calm down. Dude was like, man, I tried, but my life, and I see what you doing. Keep doing what you doing over here. Like, yeah, I got your baby, bro. But
I got you. We good.
Yeah,
we good.
man.
We
but
good.
I always say I'd rather my daughter be crying because she missed me instead of crying because she don't want to be with me. So beautiful weekend. Strong. Ended the week strong.
Beautiful.
The work week ended it strong.
Beautiful.
You feel me? Ended it firm.
Beautiful.
You feel me? How about you? Did you end your work week strong?
I ended my work week strong, bro, and got another 6 months to go of this project that we're doing over here, man. But
okay.
I did something yesterday, man, that I don't ever normally do, ever in the history of ever.
Do tell.
Went fishing.
Fishing,
bro.
Oh man, you been down south too long, man. You an old country boy now.
Listen. My son is a country boy. He look. It's
how always a family member take you down that road.
Look, you know how dads always say, yeah, I took my son fishing. We went fishing over the weekend, bro. My son took me fishing. He took me fishing. And
the man. He's a man now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Man. I can't wait for the day my son. I mean, I can't wait. Son, if you're listening, I can wait for you to take me fishing. But I ain't gonna say no.
All I know is some of the bait that they have to use to catch these fish. Nope. Nope.
There's so many more options.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I respect your son for being willing to go that route. There ain't many men.
No. And look, I'm a man.
Me too.
I'm a man.
But I ain't doing it.
But apparently I'm not man enough because there's just some things that I'm seeing these sand fleas that are literally an inbred of ticks and bed bugs and
mites
and arachnids from the movie Aliens and Starship Troopers, for those who know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, but overall, though, man, it was good, bro, man. And then
Came from Middle Earth. I think saying please come from Middle Earth. You know, Hollow Earth. Hollow Earth.
I did watch that Godzilla and Kong over the weekend, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh man. But bro, I'm super excited about tonight's topic of conversation.
Me too, man. Me too. Let's without further ado, let's do the intros and get to the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. First.
What up, world? It's the F.I.R.M.
Let's get it. Welcome to the F.I.R.M.
Oh, it's about to go down.
Set your schedule. Eastern Standard Time.
Saturday Nights Live for a time that's one of a kind.
Woo-wee. There's nothing off the table, no trolling. We go from politics to religion to relationships to whether or not you like crunchy or soft tacos.
Woo! Forget about a love language. What about your love level?
Oh man, we excited for this one.
On all social media platforms.
So make sure you follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Fellowship in a righteous manner. That's the banner.
With your hosts, Flavius and Ulysses. We rolling Eastern Standard Time.
What up, world? How y'all doing today? You know what I'm saying? Welcome to the F.I.R.M podcast. Welcome everybody to the F.I.R.M podcast. You know what I'm saying? It's 2024. We out here doing things, you know what I'm saying, like never before. You know what I mean? In the people's face, prepping the content. If you don't know, you ought to know. You know what I'm saying? Go on that YouTube page at the F.I.R.M 365 24/7 and Facebook at the F.I.R.M 365 24/7. We haven't changed the YouTube yet. YouTube is still at the F.I.R.M 365. You can watch us live right now. Go and tell somebody right now. I know y'all love to keep us to yourselves, but y'all gonna have to share us sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna have to. Oh, you can see me.
Yeah.
I was going in. Y'all gonna have to share sometime. Hit us up on Instagram and on TikTok while TikTok lasts. Other than that, man, feel welcome. Feel free to show your love, like, share, and comment while we're live. For those of you who are here while we're live, we appreciate you guys. You are the real MVPs. You know what I'm saying? And we appreciate you guys bringing what you bring to the table, inspiring us to keep going. Not that we don't feel like going, but just the fact that you fire us up. You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
We've been doing double shows. We did a weekday show. You know what I'm saying?
We did.
I had to fight the urge not to do a show yesterday. She had threw out a couple of topics, and I was like, these some good topics. How we gonna package at least one of them? So we couldn't do it yesterday. Came in today. You know what I'm saying? And the topic for the day is, what's the topic for the day, my brother?
Topic of the day for you guys is boundaries, borders, and walls. Boundaries, borders, and walls, man. This is gonna be a good conversation.
It is.
You know, and we want you guys in the comment section, for those who are viewing live, please don't be shy. We would love to hear from you guys. We would love to hear what you guys feel about when it comes to boundaries, setting the boundaries, setting those borders.
Not just setting them, understanding boundaries and borders. And the difference between a boundary, borders, and walls.
We're here for it.
I think that there's nobody that watches us on a regular that can say that we have not touched on boundaries, that we have not said that you guys need to set boundaries. And as much as, in reviewing the show and watching what we've been, the fact that it's come up so commonly, it's kind of been, for me, my question is like, is setting boundaries all there is to boundaries? And that led me to a further question of what is the purpose of a boundary? And when I looked into the definition, the truth is these words, well, at least borders does, it falls up under there, but there's some other words. There's one particular word that's a little bit interesting to me that kind of pulled me into the purpose of the boundary.
Okay.
And what I think is that most people would agree on setting boundaries with strangers, people you don't know, boundaries with family members, boundaries in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
How different are those type of boundaries in those areas? A stranger, family, a lover?
Man, I think when you're looking at, first of all, what is a boundary? What's the purpose? As you alluded to, what is a boundary? Right, what is a border, and what is a wall? Because like when I look at those three words, boundary, border, wall, the idea of boundaries is I'm setting the line and you ain't crossing it, right? In a nutshell. Borders is like, this is my territory, and we got to have a discussion about, illegally crossing over something that I don't need you
passing on my borders.
And then walls are something that somebody has done built up over time. For whatever issue that, it starts from childhood, right? The traumas, the dramas that they go through, they set up a wall. Then you deal with relationships, and that's a whole other, my last ex done physically abused me. So a wall was up here.
Verbally abused.
Verbally abused,
cussing me out every day.
Saying the most horrible stuff. So you're setting these walls up to protect what is in the inside. Walls are designed to what? To protect us from any outside situation.
Sometimes walls are not meant to protect. Sometimes walls are meant to separate, or as the Christian folks say, sanctify. That's really different, because a wall is not a boundary. Can be something verbal. It can be an agreement. It's an arrangement. It's a covenant between you and someone else, and whoever breaks it first is the standard. That's a boundary. A boundary is a covenant. Borders are meant for opposition. Borders are set in place so that there is a clear line. It's like Jesus when he went to the when they were getting ready to stone the prostitute woman, or the not prostitute, excuse me, lady. Sorry. I only say her name just because somebody be like, how dare you? I didn't even know who you was talking about till you said her name. But anyways, the townsmen was, they had heard she had a bad reputation. You know what I'm saying? She'd been sleeping around with a couple of guys that was against the customs. And, they was tired of it. You know how guys get. They cool sleeping around. But when a woman get to sleeping around, we get a little sensitive. We get a little bit in our feelings. If we could just be honest about it. Because too many comedians got too many jokes about the difference in a reaction of women. And I personally feel like it's just being desensitized to something that shouldn't be normal, but is, versus men who feel like It could never happen to me. You know, every time a woman cheat on them, it's 9/11. Oh my God.
Right.
And so borders are clearly set, just like Jesus drew the line in the sand, that those that were opposing what they said that they would uphold would not cross this line. You say you for freedom, but this is a whole nother level of freedom over here. I'm not saying that you ain't for freedom, but this level of freedom, I got to draw a line right here. And if anybody feels like they are totally innocent, be the first to cast the first stone. But nobody did in the story. But
Right.
that, to me, that a border is more of the line in the sand as opposed to a boundary as a covenant. And walls have a neutral place. Walls are just meant to keep what's on the other side from this side. It don't have to be something bad. You know, we've got walls up in our house to keep the elements from coming in on us. That doesn't mean the walls are good or bad, or that the elements are good or bad. It's a neutral.
I mean, it really all depends. I mean, and that's a very good point. I also think when you're dealing with people, their idea of you know, like we hear the phrase, especially like when you're dealing with somebody, and it's like, oh, I got these walls up. I got these walls up to protect my heart because you know, for whatever the reason is,
True.
right? So
I believe that people use them interchangeably, but like you said, what's the definition? So let's look at the definition of boundary and see if we ever hear the word wall or border.
we probably
Because sometimes people will say something as if it is the same, but the truth is, if your English teacher was around or your professor, he would say you're using that out of context. And the one thing that believers should practice is keeping things in context. No matter what the culture has influenced us, the correction or the change, of course of action ought to be based off of context. Context should play a role.
But you also see
word,
you also see it in the political realm, right? Where when Trump was president, you know, the big thing was build that wall. And where was the wall being built? At a border. You know,
and what was the debate? Because if there are enemies, nobody's going to complain about putting a wall there. Because we need a border.
Right, but it had to do with immigration, illegal immigration.
But when you, like my son who's in the Navy, he's out on the boat. There ain't no walls.
No, but there are borders.
Correct. Which is, let's look at the word boundary. See if we find, listen, those of you who are live, listen if you hear the word border or wall. Either one. Boundaries. A line that marks the limits of an area. A dividing line. Says a border, first word. All right, so borders in there.
With boundaries.
Frontier. I like that word. We're going to come back to frontier. Borderline, partition, dividing line, bounding line, bounds, confines, limits, outer limits, extremities, margins, edges, fringes. I ain't gonna skip that one. No, I'm just saying context is important to intelligent thinking. Perimeter, circumference, rim, merge, born, skirt. Nowhere in there is the word wall, but we do find the word border. So let's start there. And we can pick it up on the rest since that's the order of the show. Let's start with boundaries. When, according to the definition, boundaries are lines that mark the limits of an area. When is it good to set boundaries or limits in a relationship? Is it good? Yeah, you wait till somebody crosses
the very
line,
beginning.
The very beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The very beginning. The very beginning.
Okay. That's what I was gonna ask. Do you do it in the beginning? Do you come in with the boundaries? Or do you wait till somebody does something and then
It's obviously easier said than done, right? Because I mean, like the logical, psychological answer will be have that conversation beforehand. Say this is what this is, and this is what, and hopes that yeah, I agree to that, and hopefully that everybody will follow that. Now,
right. Get it on out.
In that's
In real life.
In real life, it's more like, let me see how you are as a person. Let's go into this relationship. And then as conversations come about, then we can have that conversation. Right. Because it's almost like, for me, it's like, hey, I don't want to really talk about boundaries with somebody unless, at least not initially, until the conversation presents itself. I'm not a politician.
But I mean, what if that's too late?
Well, but that's the whole thing about relations, right? We're being in a relationship is finding out what works and what doesn't.
It's more in the discovery. There's grace in the discovery.
For me, it is, because we have in our brains, we already have a boundary, right? And there are some things that initially that somebody might do that you might be like, you know what? I'm sorry, this is not going to work. And the person gonna be like, what did I do?
Yeah.
How come you just cut me off? How come you just ghosted me? How come whatever the case is? But it's because they said something or did something that you already didn't like.
And so, what? You didn't say nothing the first time, or
and it wasn't even addressed. It was just, hey, I'm saying hello to you, and you done overstepped my boundary, even though I never expressed that boundary to you. I never expressed.
So you're being not held accountable, but you're dealing with the consequences before you even was able to identify what you did wrong.
Correct. Because
those are unhealthy boundaries, people. Those are called unhealthy boundaries.
Unhealthy boundaries, and it's also and people, they I love the caption that was put is, I'm telling you this is a boundary. Yeah. But this is actually a wall that I put up. Oh. And so am I manipulating the situation? Am I manipulating to make it work to my advantage?
Because what I just say, a wall can be neutral. And sometimes people rather play nice than just address a situation, like you guys said, head on in the beginning. That's first. But they'll disguise a wall as a boundary. Yeah. Because the one thing that a boundary, or excuse me, that you probably won't find, and we'll get to it eventually as the show progresses. But the one thing that I noticed in the definition of boundaries was frontier. A wall don't give you no access to no frontiers.
No.
Hold on. So a frontier, the extreme limit of settled land. So even in a boundary, the limits are inclusive to what you're trying to build. But what some people are trying to do, because a wall can be neutral, is saying this is a boundary. You really tapping on my nerves. You really me off. You really making me rehearse and rehash memories that I had tried to work through. Right. That was part of my healing process to get to where we are today. And you kind of taking me back. You trying to say you neutral and we still on the same side, but this feels like a limitation for me. There's supposed to be some frontier for me. There's supposed to be some land for me, which goes back to something that I often say especially in relationships, is if you want me in your life, you have to make room for me. That don't mean just make room for me and give me a dresser drawer and a half of the closet. Tell me I can get the parking space next to you or something, or you next to me, or pick our sides of the bed. That means mentally make room for me too.
And I like what the chat says here. So what is, because it goes to your point. What is setting limits? Basically, in psychology, Darlene says, is setting limits is understood as clearly expressing to others what we need and what we want, and always taking into account the needs and desires of others as well. So yeah. So I think, but here's the thing about setting limits.
Yeah.
We have to be careful with our motives as to why we're setting limits.
That's a fact.
We have to be careful, because I may set a limit for you.
Yeah.
But that limit could be set out of fear.
I don't want you to ever raise your voice at me.
Because the last one.
And there are times where driven people, passionate people, articulate people who are going after life, they're not just sitting around waiting for life to hand them something. They're actually go-getters. There's times where that passion will rise up in you and you just might raise your voice. But if the boundary, quote unquote, is if in there is like no raising your voice, then it's like, man, how realistic is that if you're a human being that you will never raise your voice for the rest of your life? That sounds like a parole officer. That sounds like correctional officer in the jail say, hey, inmate number 9999, you better keep your voice down. Or a teacher, y'all too loud. Or a parent, hey, y'all too loud back there. Y'all bring it down a little bit. It's a control that is acceptable in certain environments that is illogical in others. Some people, the boundary, what they call them boundaries, they're illogical to the human condition. Who ain't gonna stress? Who ain't gonna get upset? Who ain't gonna get frustrated sometimes?
And again, man, like I love this topic of conversation. And please, for those, please, let's talk about it, right?
Let's talk about it.
Because my fear of what happened in my last relationship, I can project that upon you in a new relationship.
True.
Because this is what happened to me. Like prime example, in my last several relationships, the biggest thing that I had to deal with personally, bro, is somebody not being able to control their tongue. You've been a witness to everything I've been through, bro. So it's like I can be honest and upfront with you, and also honest and upfront with the viewership, because I was in a 23-year marriage, and in this marriage, we both hurt each other, but on the flip side, there was a lot of verbal stuff that was said, a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of mental abuse, the whole nine.
Yeah,
stuff that if a woman was going through it, they would tell the woman, go ahead and leave the relationship. It is not healthy for you. But if a man goes through it,
brother, you gotta hang in there. It's the devil.
Stick
the
with
devil
it,
is trying to trick your mind. You focused on her, but you need to be focused on yourself. Just ignore all of that.
It's real.
That's how you have a happy life.
Just ignore everything, and
you won't be happy, but you will be married until you die. Like, time out, man. I want to be happily married until I die. I want to just be married.
Right. But so in the relationships that followed after that, it fell into the same realm of finding myself with partners that didn't know how to control their tongue. So after that marriage failed, and then I was in a relationship where I got engaged, and that ended up failing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling myself, these are my boundaries. These are my borders. Like the moment you say something out of anger, out of frustration, at this point, it don't even matter.
Yeah.
If you do not know how to control your tongue, then I'm not dealing with this. I'm telling myself this is my boundary. But what I had to realize and heal from was that I was setting myself up and other people for failure.
How?
Because I was setting instead of creating a boundary, I created a wall that was high enough that nobody could reach.
Not even the elements is getting in here.
Not even the elements is getting in.
I gotta crack a window for you to get in here, girl.
Yeah, just to get some air, I gotta crack a window, you know.
And who can have a relationship? I mean, you tell me, when have you went to somebody's house and one spouse lived outside and the other one lived inside, and they had a successful relationship?
You
a wall prevents all stuff, but nobody gets angry about a wall. We all got to understand that wall has a reason.
And so I done set these walls up so high because I needed to protect myself. I needed to protect my heart. I needed to protect my mind. And it's like, after I went through this healing process, I spent a whole year like focusing on myself, self-love, self-worth, take your pick. You know what I mean? And getting to a place where now I began to love myself in a way that, hey, this is how I need to treat me. And this is now my expectation of how someone is supposed to treat me. Right. So then I get into another relationship.
Okay. 4
months into that relationship, I knew it wasn't good.
Okay.
I knew it wasn't good, right? But the boundary, my walls are now, because the walls are based off of what? Not letting people in, right? Yeah. Boundaries are designed to show people the door and how to enter. And so I come into this relationship.
Covenant. Go ahead.
Yeah. I come into this relationship and it's like, okay, you know, I thought 3 months was a good enough time period to figure somebody out, right? They let them in through the door and then they just create havoc. So my boundaries have gone from here. Okay, this is what I don't like. Please don't do that again. And then they do it again. And it's like, now my boundary goes back. Okay, I told you I don't like this, but don't do it again. They do it again. Okay, I mean it this time. I'm serious, you know. And it really falls into a line of how kids look at us as parents when we tell them, don't do this, or this will happen, right? Because we always make that threat. You make the threat. If something happens, this is the consequence.
And sometimes you only make it because you know they're gonna do it again, and you really want them not to. But everything that you have experienced with them is telling you the chances are high.
But then we don't even follow through with the consequence because we're so invested in the relationship. We need this to work. I need this relationship to work. So let me make the threat, but let me not follow with the consequence. So, but it gets to a point where again, because I was at this place of knowing who I am, knowing what I'm worth, the whole hoopla about it.
Yeah.
And what usually would have taken me 2 years to finally let go took me 8 months. People might look at, well, you know, man, that's still too long. Or it could be, bro, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That you was able to do that in 8 months versus 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, because
I think I'm on a 2-year plan. I don't know.
right.
Going on 2 years.
Going on 2 years, you know, and because, you know, I mean, look, I'm 45, so I'm not really trying to waste time either. But,
you know what I'm saying?
But
I got no time to waste.
We ain't got no time to waste, man. We're like, hey, if y'all don't get it right.
Now, do you think that what you just expressed, being conscious of how much time you have left, at the same time being old enough to be conscious of how much time you can waste or spend that you won't say it was wasted, but you didn't get everything you wanted from the experience. You couldn't keep everything. It wasn't wasted time, but there were just certain things that you really wanted to hold on to that you couldn't. And now you're at this juncture in your life where you're old enough to know what you can lose, and you're old enough to be aware of how much time you still have. Do you think that pressures people to be unrealistic about their boundaries?
I think that's
what
a
the
very,
rush
very
game
good point.
is?
I think when you know, patience is a virtue and patience is a lost art. You know, there's, you know, and this goes for anybody who's either 45 or 25. The excitement level of being in something new is what gets people in trouble, right? Because it's new, it's fun, it's exciting, it's, you know, like, oh man, like, and like this person can't do no wrong, because it's like there's an excitement level to it that may, you know, we you know, they call it the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like you're getting to know each other and you're laughing at each other's jokes. Nobody's arguing with nobody. It's just like it's just it's so funny. And it's like, oh man, you should have been a comedian. Like, I know.
I know. All my boys tell me that.
That's what they tell
some of y'all
me.
ladies, all my friends, I be making everybody laugh.
You know, so it comes to, but then there always comes that point. There comes to that point where reality sets in.
Yeah.
Reality is going to set in once sooner or later, and anybody who is not healthy, they will tell on themselves. So, you know, because and psychology, you know, going to Darlene's point, psychology will tell you, give a relationship 3 months.
3 months.
By the end of the 3rd month, most people cannot hide what they're hiding for that long.
Man, I do. Well, if that's the logic, I could be a doctor. I tell you, dude, after the first 6-7 years, they won't be able to hide it anymore. 3 months is not long enough. Maybe for a man. Is that how that's we 3 months in? Women are years in. So
bro. In your situation, somebody who realizes 6 or 7 years, it's not that they haven't realized it 7 years in. Is that they've ignored it for the last 6.5 years. You know what I mean? Because it's like for me, like,
so I know she crazy.
I know she crazy. Like,
but that's my little ball of crazy, and better not nobody touch her.
You know, FLAVIUS told me one time. He said, "Bro," I use this wisdom with everybody that I talk to.
Yeah.
FLAVIUS told me one time. He said, "Bro," he said, "everybody got a crazy in them, but it's all dependent on what level of crazy you're willing to live with."
What level of crazy You could tolerate.
And so I took that wisdom and I done took it another step further.
Oh no. Somebody in the chat probably say that ain't good advice. Go ahead. You took it further.
I took it a little further because love is the foundation, right? Everybody wants to be in love with the best friend, and everybody wants to be in love.
True.
But love isn't everything.
That's pretty.
I think after love comes tolerance to the point. So I even make fun of it, and I'd be like, you know what?
Us holy people call it grace.
We call it
and
grace.
mercy
And patience.
The fruits of the spirit. But
Glory
go ahead. You said it's
tolerance.
Ignorance. No,
So,
it's tolerance.
Yes. Our ignorance, tolerance, you know, it's just
interchangeable when it comes to their relationship.
And I joke about it because I'm like, you know what? And you know, sometimes we gotta substitute the word love for tolerance.
Yeah.
Like, girl, I tolerate you.
I hope God does
so much. I'm just so tolerating.
I heard that out loud.
I just tolerate you. I mean, you're just so.
Do you tolerate me too?
Oh, we so sweet. So sweet. But it's the truth though, right? Because we do have to get to a place where my patience is going to go. There are days where my tolerance level, my patience level is going to have to go further past in love. Because yes, I'm gonna love you, but man, there's gonna be some days where you gonna get on my nerves. There, I have to learn how to tolerate you.
And in those days when you get on my nerves, if you could just give me a little time to tolerate you, I'll be all right. That makes so much sense. There's a woman out there that could hear that statement and be like, I understand.
And there's other right now probably listen to us that's disagreeing with this very same statement.
I'm sure most people could probably disagree, but if I could just get away right now, girl, I will love you. I'll be able to love you. If you just give me a minute, just give me a break.
Give me a minute.
I'll be able to love you right, or I'll be able to tolerate you right. It's almost as if love ain't on the table. A person can have time to reflect when they're thinking about tolerance, as opposed to the deepness that people try to put behind the word love. Look in this. When it comes to a border, we find similar definitions as we did in the word boundary. So frontier is in there. Both of these words have something in common. Boundaries and borders have something in common. Frontier is in there. There is a consideration for what is inside of the boundary and what's on the outside. There's a consideration for what is on the inside of the border versus what is on the other side of the border. But it says boundary is actually in the definition. Frontier, boundary, partition, borderline. They are almost hand in hand. If a country wants to set boundaries, they build borders.
Now, can partition be a wall? Because like if you go like to a workplace, partition is something that is something that's like it's an object that you put in place that separates that you could put it in a room and make that into a smaller room.
True. The difference that we're getting, that we're kind of really boiling down to, because most people probably use these words interchangeably before this conversation started tonight. But what they're going to understand is that it is not the word, it is the action of the word. What actions are following your words? And simply put, cheers, sir. Simply put, some of us are using these words interchangeably. Because when you look up the word wall, you will not find the word frontier. If you look up the word wall, one word that you won't find is boundary. If you look up the word wall, like I'm looking it up right now, you will not find the word border. Partition is in there, and that's the slippery slope. What is a partition? It is the visualization of a limit. It's okay to have limits. Nobody's saying it's wrong to have boundaries in a relationship. Nobody's saying that it's wrong. I would hope your borders are your yard and your front door if you're in a relationship and y'all cohabitate. But if y'all ain't living together, mi casa is mi casa and su casa is su casa. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And invite only, don't pop up. But when it comes to a wall is the visualization of these things. And sometimes in the perspective, we can get tricked into believing that a wall that is a partition could also be a border or a boundary. When we just read the definition of a wall, and a wall could never be a border or a boundary. But because that partition is in there, we go straight to the visuals. Well, I know I need to. What was your example? You know, we put them walls up around your heart. You build walls up so high. We get so raptured in the visualization of it, which shapes our perspective, that we blur the lines on definitions and understanding. So even though a wall or a partition may be okay, I don't treat my lover like the air, like the bugs, like the elements outside, like a stranger outside. I got walls to keep us safe in our frontier. But there's also a border. I can't put a border in a relationship. I'm supposed to put a border around the relationship. Sometimes y'all call it a jealous woman or a jealous man. You know how y'all be talking in 2024. But anyways, the borders are meant to keep the opposition away. That's simple. Stop hollering at your man because he's jealous, or your woman because she's jealous. That's probably the reason why you keep cheating and finding yourself in and out of relationships, because you won't let your woman be jealous. You won't let your man be jealous. The Bible says God, that his name is jealous, for he is a jealous God.
But there's a jealous.
How could love, which is what he is, have a designation of jealousy unless context matters?
But there's that healthy jealousy, and then
I'm talking about godly jealousy. We firm fellowship in a righteous manner is the type of jealousy I'm talking about. I ain't talking about worldly jealousy.
I love clarity.
I ain't talking about the unrighteous jealousy. I'm talking about the righteous jealousy. It's coupled. It is a designation for a lover in the kingdom. You can't have a lover in the kingdom that ain't jealous. Otherwise, you couldn't love God. Jesus went in his father's house with such jealousy that he flipped the tables over, took time. I don't know who was dumb enough to sit there and watch him whittle up a whip, but he whipped that bad boy together. You know, he's a carpenter, so he probably had a way with straps and and chase some folks up out of there. Why? Jealousy. So I'm talking about the righteous kind. There is like we said before, there's a sanctification. And what we're doing is we're using the partition, the thing that sets things apart. We're using sanctification, being set apart in relationships that by nature cannot be separated. Even God said, if this thing goes good, you two gonna become one. So the nature of a loving relationship is the purpose. There could never be a division, because God's plan is for you to be one. So if it's really supposed to be one, then the walls are to keep us safe, or maybe to give us time when we get in on each other's nerves to have some safe space in our frontier to kind of get our heads together before we reapproach the conversation. Borders are to keep everybody out of our business. Boundaries, we're trying to bring these into relationships, trying to say this is sanctification. I just can't, every time you cuss me out, it makes me cuss you out. And, I'm trying to live my life right before the Lord, but you making me do it. If it wasn't in you, you couldn't do it. You a cusser. Yeah. You cuss when you ain't pissed off at your woman or pissed off at your man. Your friends, your co-workers probably know better than your church folks. And some of the church folks know because y'all go out and have lunch together, kick it together. Y'all know y'all be, God. And don't nobody hold you, say that you, don't say that. Unless they, never mind. I ain't going to say no distinction.
No, and I love what you say there because, and this strikes another conversation, and I don't know how much time we have left. But
we're going to be mindful.
The environment, the environment that you are in, and it was a perfect example of what you just said. If I'm in an environment where everybody else cusses and I cuss, then there is no limit. There is no boundary. It's just like free flow. But if I go to a place where cussing is not encouraged,
then use your
then I feel some type of way.
And it may not be in the church. It may be you might go pick your kids up, stub your toe on the way in. You ain't gonna be cussing all down the hall.
So here's the thing about boundaries is based off of my experience with other relationships is the level of is the boundary that I'm willing to make. So if I'm used to a relationship where all we do is yell and argue and say crazy stuff, then I think that's normal.
A lot of people do.
I think that boundary, so if I run across a person who has healthy boundaries and say you're not going to cuss, you're not going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to look at that person like they're crazy.
You're trying to control me.
Exactly, because the environment that I'm used to is how I set my boundary.
That's where you've been. That's how you've been cultivated. You have a culture now that influences your boundaries.
So moving forward in relationships, and this is the question to the viewers as much as it is to you, Flav. How do I, if I'm used to a certain environment, certain culture, and I'm comfortable there, but I'm in a relationship or I'm talking to somebody whose boundary is a little more tight-knit, right? And two things can happen. Either I learn how to heal and be able to adjust, or I look at the situation and be like, I don't want to be accountable to nobody. Because at the end of the day, boundaries is what? Accountability. And there are some situations, some people, and this is the question for you, Flav, and for the listener. How do you get to that place of willing to be accountable to a relationship?
Okay.
Give the people some time to process
that.
Yeah,
y'all let it flood on in while I'm talking. I'll pause in the meantime. It's our fellowship that gets us to the answers that we are looking for. Ultimately, it's God that gives them to us. I would say you have to know what you want first. Because the truth is, there are more people in the dating pool that are not ready for a relationship, but they're also not ready to be alone. So when they run into people that are in the dating pool that are ready to be in a relationship, it's like you are the person that is elusive and hard to lock down, and they're confused because they're like, you wouldn't be here if you wasn't looking for what I'm looking for, right? And you're like, I'm not really looking for that yet. I'm just looking for companionship. But I'm at the tail end of my healing, but I still need some time. But I think that because of what I just said, it's important to know, what do you want? And it may be a number of things. You may want a good, healthy relationship. You may also want time to heal. You may also want to not be so paranoid. You may want to be more understanding. You might want to be more fortified to run into somebody who's been out in the battlefield like you. Because from our testimonies and our conversations, it's too many people that can relate for us to think that we ain't gonna run into somebody else that has gone through a tragic situation when it comes to relationships. So I think that first thing is lay out what you want to yourself. And then after you lay it all out, put it in order. This definitely got to come before this. I got to heal up first before I get this good relationship. You never have to take nothing off your list. You just have to put the things that you put in the list in a healthy order for yourself first. And then when you approach a relationship, you have to determine, what do you want from this relationship? If you want it to be an everlasting relationship, then you have to rule out, you might have to add a couple more things to that list. You might have to rule out things that work against what it is that you really want. I know I'm super paranoid. I don't really trust women right now. That definitely ain't a person, a man or a woman that's ready to go into a relationship. You don't even trust them. You know what I'm saying? So the chances of you crossing things off your list of what you want are slim. You'll be restarting this list, the next relationship, the next one, but decide what you want first. That's number one, I would say. Number two is decide what you really want from someone. And if you really want to be with them, then there cannot be borders and boundaries that separate you. That's not sanctification. If your goal is to be with this person, then your mentality about sanctification has to be inclusive. They are part of the frontier. They're not the one that's gone and you comfortable with the 99. They're part of the 100. And that's why you would leave the 99 to go get the one. Why? Because they belong on this frontier. And my borders that I have set, they're in an unsafe zone because the ops is out there, the enemy is out there, and I got to go get them and keep them safe before the enemy gets them because they done gone past the borders. But a lot of times we put ourselves in the shoes of the person on the inside and the enemy. I can be with you and against you at the same time. How? You a double agent. You a triple agent. You playing both sides. That don't work in no gangs. That don't work on no sports teams. That does not work in relationships. You can't play both sides.
Movies.
Huh?
And they usually die in movies.
And they usually end up catching the short end of the stick trying to play both sides. And I think that a lot of people are trying to play both sides. They'll make you feel like I met a woman who made me feel like she wanted me in her life. I mean, completely convinced me. And at the same time, not later, at the same time, completely convinced me that she could live without me. Girl, what are we doing? Why am I here if you that comfortable being without me? You can make your decision up anywhere down the road. You know what? You need to decide what you want. Yeah. And not while we still continue. We need to stop what we're doing and you need to decide what you want. And if this ain't it, we'll both be happy that we stopped. You will be angry if we try to continue while we're in deciding moments of this process. But decide what you want. Decide what you really want out of somebody. And if you want to be one with them, then you cannot set something that overrides the will and word of God. If he says that these two shall become one, how dare you put something in between? The Bible says, let no man, and even though we be like, we ain't gonna let nobody else put nothing asunder between us, you doing it. Y'all doing it right there in the house. How ridiculous would it be if, for some people, the amount of walls they got up or boundaries or barriers that they're trying to set, it would literally look like a maze if you went to their house. You would have to be stepping over kid gates and little gates over here, gates over here. You might step over a gate over here and they be like, oh, don't go over there. And that's not my territory. What do you mean? This should be your whole frontier. This is all your territory, right? So you telling me this little bit of space that belongs to you, God gonna reward you for this? With a successful relationship, this is your be faithful over little. The boundaries you set for yourself end up being the traps that you set for yourself. That's why most wise countries put their borders far away from their civilizations, far away from their citizens,
Right.
as far away as possible. But saying those things, and I'll wrap it up like this, because it's important to decide what you want. And when you got that list down and you want to approach somebody, because it's important to decide what you really want with this person. Are you trying them out? If you are, just tell them, I'm just trying you out right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how this going to go, but we're going to take it one day at a time and respect me for that.
Yep.
I really am looking for somebody to settle down with. Women don't have a problem with it. All you got to do is go on the Facebook dating app and you will see it right in the subject line. If you here for a booty call, a late night call, some sex or whatever, swipe left, Nick. Swipe left, brother. The women have no problem saying it. Sometimes men have an issue saying it. I think oftentimes more than women do, because we're insecure about the boundaries we know are best for us.
Yeah, I think being accountable, I think is huge. You know,
accountability is huge. Let me wrap this up, and I'm gonna give it to you. The way that I'll wrap that up is you have to have there is this moment that sometimes men can only have with other men, or women can only have with other women, or certain environments are conducive to this. You ever seen a man that is strong and you looking at him from a distance and brothers just start putting their arm around him, and this strong man just all of a sudden start breaking down and they all holding him, being there for him? Or women, you ever seen that circle when it happens? Maybe we don't all get to see those moments, but there's these moments where women will come around another woman and in her broken state, be there for her and just let her get it out. Contrary to popular belief, it happens in prison. Guys be on the inside tough, standing their ground, gangsters all get out. Hear about their best friend died while they was locked up. All they could think of is, if I had been there, if I wouldn't have done that stupid, got myself locked up, I could have protected them. I could have. And bro, even in prison, they'll have that breaking moment. And sometimes they cannot do it. It'll be some of the OGs that walk up and be like, come here, bro. Come here, man. And they be trying, you know how we do. We try to act tough. We try to hold it down and be like, nah, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to. But something about that connection will let this brother just cry his pain out. And a lot of us have not had that breaking moment We discuss the thing that happened that was worthy of breaking us. And we try to ignore the fact that we are broken. And even though we go a long time saying that we're still in the healing factor, we're still trying to heal, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Why are you not healing? Because you're not addressing when you were broken. You're not addressing what about you was broken. You ain't had your broken moment. So I say all that to say, after you done figured out what you want, after you can approach somebody, before you get there, you got to have a breakdown moment, bro. You got to let it out. You got to cry. You got to go somewhere and where ain't nobody around with just you and your boys that understand. And you got to cuss that woman out for what she said about you and what she did to you and all the lies she told and all the stuff everybody, stupid people around them believed when she said it. You got to be able to just go off and let it. A woman, when you come from a man that did you wrong, you cannot ignore your brokenness. The only way that I have really seen it, bro, I've seen it. How long we been in church?
Way too long.
And even if you don't attend all the time, we are the church. But certain environments are it's okay for other men to put their arm around. It's okay for a man to cry. It's okay for a woman to let it all out, even though they're strangers. And you know how women are. They don't want nobody outside their immediate family or friends to know their business. But in these environments, they can have a breaking moment. And God does not despise a broken and contrite spirit. And when you have that moment, that broken moment, let yourself have it. Then you can move on. Yeah. You can, man, people see a new day after them tears. The sun looks brighter after them tears. You can laugh without, even when you think about who hurt you, bro, it don't even bother you the same way. The day after my ex left my house, I ain't gonna word it like that. The day after she had to go, that very night, bro, I knew that if I did not have my broken moment as soon as possible, that I was gonna be ruined for relationships for the rest of my life. I knew, I felt it. I will never give myself to another woman. Every man I meet, I tell him, you know what your problem is? That woman. You don't need a vacation with the woman. You need a vacation from that woman. Every woman that I would have found, I'd have been like, yeah, that brother over there lying to you. I used to do that. Deceitful. You know what I'm saying? He over there trying to manipulate you, girl. He playing you. And I don't even care. Because I don't think this thing works anyways. But I knew that if I didn't break before God, it was going to make me I was going to be a different guy after that. And after everybody was gone, and I held mine all night, I went in my room, got in my blanket, I turned the TV, put some on YouTube, turned it up a little bit so the neighbors couldn't hear, and I wailed. I'm not talking about I teared up and cried, bro. I mourned, I wailed, I let it all out. It was the most. If anybody would have came in here, bro, my cry would have made you. It would have broke your heart. Just hearing me cry like that. But I knew I couldn't fake it. Otherwise, it would work against me. And bro, I wept all night until I went to sleep. And that next day when I woke up, bro, I felt like the Princess Zamunda. The sun had just kind of came through the cracks of the blinds. You know what I'm saying? My curtains already pulled back. And it hit me, bro, and I woke up in the middle of the bed. Yes. And bro, I've been running ever since.
Those crying nights make for good rest.
You have to have your breaking moment. That's my bottom line. You know what I'm saying on that. Go ahead.
No, thank you for sharing, man. Thank you for sharing. And again, like being accountable.
Real OG
to the boundaries, to the borders, even to the walls. Know and understand the motive. For me, bottom line for me is the motive. What is your reasoning? What is your purpose behind these boundaries? Are they
If you
realistic?
feel like somebody is an enemy, women, for me personally, if women are the enemy, I'm not approaching the relationship right, because I'm willing to set boundaries between me and you. I'm willing to divide us. I'm trying to set as many as possible before it get too late. I feel like if you're going into a relationship believing that the one that you're attracted to is the enemy, you need to wait. You're not ready.
You're not ready. And so and that's a part of accountability. That's being accountable for your own actions, for your own motives, for your own way of doing things. Being accountable is really all about understanding what if I am willing to be successful in a relationship, if I really want a successful relationship, then setting those boundaries, being accountable is necessary.
Let me ask you this, based off of what you just said.
Uh,
Do you think that when two countries are at war, that they are concerned about being accountable to each other about the borders?
but I think that's different though, right?
So when somebody's inside of it, the accountability is different. You guys can hold each other accountable because you're together. Well, people are trying to hold folks accountable as if while they drawing lines in the sand.
When you got two people at war with each other,
yeah,
trying to hold each other accountable, it'll never work.
Right.
It will never work. Trust me, and I'm sure everybody that's
about two people lying on each other.
Listen, when you got two people that are in a relationship that are arguing with each other, the last thing you can do is hold the other person accountable, because you can be like, well, you did this, well, you did that, and so it's everybody just got a shovel and they're just digging a grave, just digging that grave. And next thing you know, both of y'all are looking up at this 10-foot hole that nobody can get out of now. Because nobody wanted to be mature enough to stop digging. We all have issues. We all have struggles. We all make mistakes. But being accountable to myself, to the other person, it is, in other words, if you want a successful relationship, you have to be willing to humble yourself. Right? Nobody wants to be accountable. Nobody wants rules set to them. Nobody wants to be held to a standard. Nobody wants to, you know what? No. You don't tell me when I can do this. I tell you when I can do this. And so it's a very prideful situation, because but it's the thought process is, you're not going to tell, like, I've been in relationships where somebody tried to control me. You're not going to control me. I'm not going to allow you to control me. So I will do the exact opposite of what you're asking me to do to prove a point that you're not going to control me. But the truth of the matter is, can you humble yourself for the greater good? Can you humble, if you really, now it doesn't, I'm not just referring to, a relationship with a man and a woman, but we're also dealing with our kids, our parents, our loved ones. If you cannot humble yourself for the greater good, then we will always struggle with the relationship. I'm gonna say that one more again. Let's say one more again. If you have an issue with humility, because I've been in situations, bro.
Yeah.
where somebody will be quick to tell me what's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's wrong with you. This is what's wrong with you. This is what's wrong with you. I'll be the first to look at myself and be like, well, let me see if this is true.
Mm-hmm.
I've been
Self-examination never hurt nobody.
Mm-hmm. And then I've been in situations where I've had people tell me, the Lord said,
Mm-hmm.
the Lord wanted me to tell you.
Yeah.
I had a situation with a friend of mine. The Lord told him to tell me that I was wrong in this situation. Not gonna get into all the specifics.
The chat said that was the Lord.
The Lord.
That wasn't the Lord. That was the Lord.
It was the Lord, right?
Talking to him.
The Lord said. And so the one thing that if there's anything that y'all need to be sure of, especially those who really want to be successful in a relationship, is do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? Flavor said earlier, do you know what you want? Do you know what you want? Find out what you need. Find out but you can't even figure that until you know who you are. Do you understand that the purpose of growth, the purpose of relationship, the purpose of marriage is coming to a situation where I know who I am and what I can bring to the table?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for somebody, you're looking for somebody, she looking for somebody that can bring that to the table.
Some people are built like Tinkerbell from Peter Pan. They can only have one of those things at a time. So I know what I am. No humility. Or all humility, but no sense of self. Worth.
With self-worth. And that's powerful.
You gotta be able to have more than one of these. These gotta be combined. You know, nobody gets their nutrition from one vegetable. You gotta have multiples.
As much as we would love to, right? As much as I love to eat a chocolate cake and be like, this is all the vitamins that I need. It's not
all I need.
It's all I need right here. It's not gonna work. But that's the whole thing of, because a lot of people's identity, Muffin Man, a lot of people's identity, a lot of people, and this is just a sad truth, y'all.
Yeah.
A lot of people base their identity, who they are, on whether or not they can find somebody. Ooh. Whether or not they can keep somebody.
Ooh.
Whether or not that they can hold on, or whether or not they're good enough for somebody. Like, how come nobody loves me? How come nobody wants to be with me? Why can't I hold on to? So the mental warfare that they go through, trying to figure that stuff out, because they base their identity off of what somebody else says or don't say about them. But never on their self-worth. Never, like, listen, I'm far from perfect. I'm far from perfect. But here are the things that I do know. What I do know is that I'm a good man. What I do know is I'm a hard worker. What I do know is, and I can go on down the list, and it doesn't matter what the ex said about me. It doesn't matter what the last whoever wants to talk crazy. It doesn't matter. Because another wise thing that Flavius once told me was this: if you look at the scope of who you are going to reach, the people you're going to be a blessing to, the population of those who actually have something bad to say about you is 0.0000002%.
So small. You know how many they had to go to the Roman Empire just to crucify Jesus. They couldn't do it themselves. There was so few.
0.00002 of the population
Yeah, man.
actually cares about what somebody has to say about you.
Yeah, man.
Outside of that, outside you have a whole slew of field of people to reach, people that you can talk to, people that you can meet, like that could care less about your past.
Facts. That is a fact.
We can care less about what you put the last person through, because that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Who you are now is you are a different person. When I was in North Carolina last week, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about a mutual person who, after all these years, is still acting the same way. Vindictive, talking crazy, trying to block business deals because, hey, don't be dealing with him because this is what he used to do.
Mm.
And so, and it's like, if people don't understand that you've changed, if people don't understand that your boundaries are different based off of your knowledge of who you are, the experiences that you have, your boundaries are going to change. Who you are now is going to be different than the person you are going to be 5 years from now. And I guarantee you 100% that your boundaries are going to be different, that your borders are going to be different, that your walls are going to be different, because you are, if you are not growing, then they say what doesn't grow ends up dying.
Mm.
But if you are growing, then there's going to be change. It's going to be beneficial. It's going to be necessary. It's going to be needed. But are you okay with yourself?
Are you okay with you?
Are you okay with you?
Huh.
And if you are okay with you, then I can't come into your life talking all crazy. You're not going to allow me to. And if I want to stay in your life, then I will be accountable to what you're asking, not demanding, not forcing, not manipulating, not deceiving.
Yeah.
What you're asking of me. If you don't do what I'm asking of you, then it's okay for me to cut you off.
Sometimes you just need to cut somebody off. A couple of people.
Listen, my
being too nice.
My cutoff game is strong.
It's getting better the older I get.
Oh man, look, my peace is way more valuable than hearing somebody talk crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, you just don't care about me? Yep, cut off.
Whatever you want to think. I don't got time to help you sort it out. Holla at your boy.
Look, listen. I don't mind being the villain in somebody's story. I don't care. I've learned not to care anymore.
Whose story do you care about? His story. And I don't mean the past. Man.
So that's all I got to say about that right there.
Man, listen. The Bible says that we, forgetting those things that are behind us, we press towards the mark of the high calling, which is in Christ Jesus. You know, the truth is, whether you want to believe it or not, or you want to spend your rest of your life trying to convince the world. The Bible says, what does it profit a man or a woman to gain the world and lose your soul? You can try your best and be successful at convincing the world that your best is in your past. That the best you, the best version of you is over with, is ruined because of what happened to you in your past. God, you will meet God and he'll call you a liar. Because the scripture says, forgetting those things, you have the ability. It's so you are valuing your past so much more than your future and your present. Paul said that if he was an appraiser, what is it worth? It's worth forgetting. I think there's a scripture that says God will throw your sins in the sea of forgetfulness. There's value in forgetting, but most people want the value of the history. That's your story. And you running people off, rehearsing your story about how good you was to somebody else, to somebody who's looking for how good you are today. You got to cut that out. There is no value in your past. Otherwise, you would have died in your past. A rare thing. You know, it's the things that are extinct that you cannot lay hold of that are super valuable in the world. But according to God, the things behind you are worth forgetting and pressing forward is where the value is. Yeah. What you're doing today matters more than your story yesterday. What you're going to be doing tomorrow and in your future matters more than what you could have possibly done. I don't care if you did it all right. If it was good enough, God would have never took it from you. If it was good enough in God's will, you would have never lost it. What do Christian people say all the time? If it was for me, it's for me, and the devil can't take it away and nobody else. Then why are you crying about what you lost? If it was God, you still have it. But what he's giving you is a better tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Your boundaries are for limitations. And be careful about how much you limit a lover. Open love, being open to it, letting the floodgates is what you should be thinking. But most of us are approaching it wrong because we're not ready yet. Becoming a part of somebody's chronicles of bad men or bad women or wasted time, and we both know we wasn't ready, me and them. But when you're ready, when you know what you want, when you're willing to get into a relationship, like I said, you decide what you want with this person. Is this person worthy of you too? Not holding each other accountable. That's what you do to your enemy. Hey, you ain't supposed to have that many nukes. You come over here and check. I told you how many nukes I got. We holding each other accountable. When you're together, you share the accountability. You don't hold each other accountable. You share accountability. It's a total different perspective. It's a total different action. It produces something completely different. When you're ready, find somebody that you're not willing to hold accountable, because some of y'all are experts at that, and God ain't impressed. Find somebody that you can share accountability with, and it'll change things.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. You know what I'm saying? Blue cup to the red cup. You know what I'm saying? Bang, bang. We listen, y'all. We want you to be firm. We want you to be strong in life. We believe that we're talking to you not to make you firm, but these are conversations that you, as the firm in God, are not hearing. You are strong and mighty. You are a man and a woman of excellence. And you're in a circle that does not speak to your character, to your future, to your potential, to your greatness. All it does is make room for you to rehearse your past. And you don't feel valuable when you walk away from it because it has nothing to do with your future. You need to change your circle. You need to get in a winner circle. You need to get in a firm circle. You need to fellowship in a righteous manner, even if you have to create it right there where you are. Yo, you, when we get together, we're going to fellowship in a righteous manner.
That's it.
We're going to talk about life, and we're going to face life and be real as possible. Like they said, Jesus, God OG, Jesus OG, so are we. Because we just like as he is, so are we in this world. What we need to do is find like-minded OGs, and some of y'all need to have your breaking point. You haven't had that yet, and ignoring that is why you can't get past your past. Make room for it. Plan for it. I don't know. Figure it out.
Figure it out.
Just because you heard this, you probably ain't gonna be able to ignore it. But have your crying, broken moment. Don't be ashamed of your own tears and your own pain. Show it, let it out, and then watch what God do. Don't nobody want you ever notice how your friends don't really be there for you like you want them to when you acting like nothing ever happened to you? Oh man, I'm cool. Don't even worry about that. All right. You like, man, why my boy ain't calling me, man? I'm over here hurt because you told him you was good. Or your home girl. Why she ain't checked up on me? Because you told her you was good. You need to grab her and have your broken moment. You can have it alone, but have it before you try to heal.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, man. All right, man. We out of here. Listen, y'all. Curtains done closed. He done called the curtains. The graphic there is that the life. What does the forest represent? Life. We're trying to get to a better life. Some of us are not going through the seal by way of the seal that God has provided. The Spirit is the seal. To get through to your better days, you need God. And you can't do it on your own. You have to come together. Those hands at the bottom that are reaching out to that couple right there that y'all seeing, that's the hands of your loved ones that'll be with you in that broken moment. You can get there. Don't give up hope. Don't quit. Don't become hopeless. God will use the little bit you still got.
Beautifully
right, man.
said. So
Hold on.
Whoa. What happened?
We forgot something because we went over. But I appreciate that. Before we go, we want to give out a couple awards.
What we do?
We want to give out a couple of awards. We're going to do this at the end of our shows from now on, man. We really appreciate the live audience. We know that our numbers increase when we go off the air. But for those of you who are the faithful few, you know what I'm saying? Ulysses, man, I'm going to ask you this. Who do you believe was the most engaged in the chat today, live, while we've been live? Just keeping the conversation going, but talking the most. I ain't got to, no stipulations. Most engaged.
I think Darlene was pretty engaged as far as keeping things in content.
We ain't talking about that.
Oh,
we just talking about engagement.
Engagement. I don't know. There's a couple of people. There was
who was. I feel like it was either Darlene or William.
Right.
All right, William. I'm gonna announce it right now. First award, most engaged award for not only engaging the host, but I saw you also send a shout out to another brother in the chat. You were engaging even the chat. Ladies, it's not that I didn't see y'all, but y'all wasn't on it tonight. The brothers were saying what's up to each other. You know what I'm saying? So, Brother Dale, because you made the difference in the engagement of Brother William, I want to say, Brother William, we're giving you the first award. This is the award for most engaged, man. We appreciate you, man. Come on, give him a hand. Give him a hand, everybody. Give him a hand. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you, brother. You know what I'm saying? We got a second award.
Mm-hmm.
The second award is most on topic. Sometimes we get to talking and we be going all over the place. But you know what I'm saying? But there always is a person in the chat that is staying on topic. Who would you say that would be?
That would have to be Darlene, hands down.
Darlene tonight, you know what I'm saying, from the F.I.R.M podcast, from the Pressure podcast, Surviving the Pressure. We're going to give you the Achievement Award for most on topic. Thank you for not distracting us. Thank you for helping us stay on topic. Thank you. That's for both of y'all. And last but not least, you know what I'm saying? The numbers when we're live don't reflect the numbers of our views after the fact. And unless you know the analytics, you don't know where all to look. So this is for each one of you guys that join us while we are live. We appreciate you guys. We believe that where your heart is where your treasure will be also. And you guys are definitely in my heart and in Ulysses' heart. I can speak for the both of us. On behalf of the firm, the treasure goes to the live audience. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all. Invite somebody next time so they can see the value that they have. You know what I mean? We appreciate y'all. Everybody that was in here, y'all did an amazing job live. Invite a friend. They might get an award next time. I ain't got nothing else to say.
Love y'all. Tune back again next weekend for another Firm Pressure podcast.
What up, world? It's the Firm.
Let's get it. Welcome to the Firm.
Oh, it's about to go down.
Set your schedule. Eastern Standard Time.
Saturday nights live for a time that's one of a kind.
Woo-wee. There's nothing off the table, no trolling. We go from politics to religion to relationships to whether or not you like crunchy or soft tacos.
Woo! Forget about a love language. What about your love level?
Oh man, we excited for this one.
On all social media platforms.
So make sure you follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Fellowship in a righteous manner. That's the best.
With your hosts, Flavius and Ulysses. We rolling Eastern Standard Time. Where's my Oreos at? Kelly, where my Oreos at?
Where's my salad? I got a chicken salad waiting, you know what I'm saying? I've been hungry the whole show. Stop.
Oh, man.
Now,